So hello everybody, thank you for attending today's webinar. Today we're going to show you how you can optimize your cross-channels campaign performance by 77%. Today I will be your moderator. I am Lauren, I am from Nexoya's marketing department. And before we jump in, I just wanted to let you know that we have enabled the Q&A section. So it's at the bottom right of your screen. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. But just so I let you know, we will answer them at the very end of the presentation. So today it's Marco Hochstrasser who will be presenting this webinar. He's the co-founder and CTO of Nexoya. He has a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and has also done additional studies such as marketing analytics at the MIT. He has also done technical program and project leader for more than 10 years in large, agile, and global distributed projects. And today, he is mainly responsible for product, marketing, and strategy and engineering at Nexoya. So Marco, if you're ready, let's jump right in.
I'm very happy that we're all the attendees today, this morning. And I will talk about basically how you can optimize your cross-channel campaigns by 77% and actually also how, on one side, how you can do that by yourself, on the other side, how also a little bit how we do that and how this works. So first, in this short webinar, I will a little bit talk about cross-channel dilemma, which basically all marketers are in today, especially performance marketing. We see more and more channels popping up. We see our users are there, and we will talk about that. Then a little bit why it's actually important for everybody, every performance marketer. We'll look into how to solve it. We'll also explain you how you can actually solve it yourself. So how actually you are, as a marketer, can basically solve this topic by yourself, without any tooling or something, just by some hard work. And last but not least, we'll also show you a little bit about the proof. We actually did a study on that and actually proved that it worked. And also, this is where the 77% come from. This is not just some marketing gag, but it's actually effective study with the University of Zurich, which we did, and we proved that 77% is in that. And with that, I directly jump in the first thing and start with a question. Does anybody know what that is? It looks very colorful, and you already see, have you ever clicked your mouse right here? Now, assuming that most of you work somehow in digital marketing or performance marketing, you actually should know this picture. And especially the "you will" is highlighted very nicely. So what you see here is actually, and that's really true, it's the first ever banner ad which was shown in the world. And it was on the website hotwire.com in October 1994. Where AT&T, which is the largest telecom company in the US, basically did their "You Will" campaign. And this "You Will" campaign was pretty big with TV and everything. And they also did the first banner ad. The click-through rate of this banner was 44%. So it was a very simplistic banner, but it worked amazingly. And this is basically how digital advertising started, with a simple banner ad from AT&T, which looked like a little bit weird. Have you ever clicked your mouse right here? I'm wondering how the click-through rate would be today if you just republished that. So why do I show you that? Well, today, actually, the world looks a little bit different. There is not just hotwire.com allowing you to display ads, but there are actually many channels. Obviously, you can still do the banner display advertising, and that's also a large part of the pie of advertising in general. But also there is social channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. There is search advertising like Bing or Google AdWords. And there's also video advertising, such as YouTube or Snapchat or TikTok. So all these channels appeared in the last couple of years. And they go forward and forward, not even think about marketplaces, just as Pinterest or others. So we see a big cross-channel movement here, and just having one digital channel is not actually enough anymore, and it goes broader. Now you might think, well, I'm just on search, and actually this works. Well, the point is, it might work for you right now, but in fact, your user is somewhere else. when you look at the statistics, and this is the last statistics I found of this number, which is back in 2020, so it's already 1 year old. The monthly average minutes spent on different channels and different apps on your mobile phone is like that. So we have Facebook dominating element, and brackets home, this is only the US market, but still you see Facebook usage is huge. Then there comes Google Chrome, so all the websites and all the potential display app banners which you see. Then already comes YouTube, TikTok, WhatsApp, internet browser from Samsung, okay, and then Instagram, Reddit, and so forth. I assume now, let's say in the middle of the pandemic and post and pre-COVID again, this picture looks again very different. But fact is, and what I mean here is that the amount of channels is actually growing significantly, and the amount of minutes spent on the internet, in the digital world for your potential customers is also changing and increasing significantly in the last couple of years. So fact is, if you run campaigns, if you run digital campaigns today, you basically have 5+ channels per campaign. If you don't have that, then you don't respect how your persona actually works and interacts with your brand, right? And potentially interacts with your conversion goals. So fact is, today, every large cross-channel campaign has 5 or more channels it works. Well, it can be that your persona is only on one channel and you only track it there and it works. That's fine. But don't forget that they are actually on other channels. And an average user today uses 24 mobile apps on a regular basis per week, meaning these are not just the browser and he looks at your display ads. These are many, and this is important. Now, what is happening now, right? When you have these cross-channel campaigns and all these campaigns, what's the problem then, or what's the challenge you might face? Well, the challenge is all of these advertising channels have data, right? So every of them tell you that they are the best place to advertise, obviously, and they're the best place to run campaigns, either content or paid marketing, doesn't matter. But each of these channels will tell you, hey, this is the best place where you put your money, right? I will give you the best out of your persona. So to compare them, to really make them comparable, you need to get the data somehow. And fact is that most data is kind of locked in these channels. Yeah, there's possibility to get it out, but it's not so easy. And it's usually hard work to get it out. Even if you have platforms doing that, you still need to take care of it. The next challenge you face when having 5 or more cross-channel campaigns is actually you have a very low return on ad spend because you focus on channel by channel. Right? To manage 5 different channels, you either have 5 experts in the house, one wizard, which does everything a little bit somehow, or you have maybe agencies and a combination of internal, external, which we see in most customers also when we talk with them, right? They have maybe a search agency, which is very good in search, and maybe a social agency, and then maybe some parts they do themselves. It's kind of a mixture, which basically means that each one optimizes their channel, but only their channel, and they really focus on this channel, which kind of is good, but still the overall view is then kind of missing, which brings you to the last point. If you have so many channels, you basically don't have an oversight anymore, right? You start combining the channels. They should work with each other because your user moves between channels, moves between the funnel within the channels. It's never a straight funnel. It's always let's say a lean and a heavy changing funnel process or the journey the user has, and you basically don't have a view on which channel works really, how good the return on ad spend is actually, and it's just very hard to keep on site. And to be very, very blunt, you basically lose a lot of opportunity here, right? And we actually expect this little child girl should actually throw money out of the window, which she usually does in the Giphy. But fact is, you could get 30% or more every month if you start doing these things better, if you start collecting your data and start really looking at it and start really optimizing towards these channels. Because as I said, every channel tells you, hey, we are the best, right? Google will never tell you, hey, Pinterest is actually better to advertise your product because there are more audiences there and it's actually cheaper. This will not happen because they're all publishers in a sense. They all try to make you happy by providing you the space and the audience we are looking for. So what can we do? How can we solve that, right? What is the path and the way how we get 30 to 77, which brackets open is the proof number we look at here. But what can we do to really get there? What can we do to kind of get this under control and also feel comfortable with all these channels and all these organizations apart from it? Right? Well, at Nexoya, we're working with customers since 3.5 years. So we're a startup, but still we're 23 people now. And we learned a lot how kind of we go through that path and how we can help people to actually really manage these elements cross-channel. And this is what I will show you now. Basically, what are the 4 simple steps you can do to basically get back control over cross-channel and get the 77% out of it. So first things first, we kind of prepared a very easy step-by-step optimization procedure. And first thing is really get your data. It sounds funny and it sounds maybe very easy, but it's actually not. we even large customers or accounts we work with, it's often a problem that, for instance, they don't own their ad account. You might say, yeah, no, I have my ad under control, right? But it's really, are you really the owner of it, or is someone else the owner of it, a freelancer or an agency or whatever? And it's not about not trusting them, but it's about really having the ownership of the account and making sure you really have the control and also have the data, which is actually the reason why you need the ownership, right? You don't need the ownership to put a credit card in, right? That's not the reason, but it's actually to have the data. And another thing there, step 1, really make sure you export your data on a regular basis and often, right? Don't having access to your data or that you don't have the data historically will be a big problem in the future because it's very hard to read out of data if you don't have them. I give an example. A lot of publishers, 6 months after the fact, they start aggregating the data. So you will not know how many conversions or clicks or CPC you will have on Monday, but they just aggregate the whole week, which makes it impossible to use any machine learning or artificial intelligence models in the future for this data. So make sure you have your data is your data because you also paid for the data, not just for showing the respective display. The next step in this step-to-step process is basically start grouping your campaigns, right? If you have 5 channels, you might have 10 campaigns per channel, which makes it 50 different campaigns. If you just compare them with each other, you will not really have a good insight on what's going on. So what we usually do with every account and every customer when we start with is, okay, what actually belongs together? Like, what has the same purpose? And having that said, obviously, not each channel is ideal for each purpose, right? Search might be not really good for brand awareness. On the other way around, display might not really be good for performance marketing purposes, depending on obviously the visual and stuff like that. So what we do is we start grouping the campaigns. We start grouping, I always say, apples with apples and bananas with bananas. And also in that process, we together with the customer look at, or basically we have an automatic check, which basically checks, okay, hey, what is the bidding strategy actually, does it make sense on this level? How is the setup made? Are there, correct tracking setup? Is actually the tracking available? Things like that. And what I really like is to just tell you what I give a little bit insight in the grouping and how this can work is a visual of marketing science. And I really like this visual. It basically, obviously, it's a little bit blunt, but it says basically on the left side you have more branding activities, on the right side you really have the performance activities. It's kind of trying to look through a funnel. And fact is, for branding, you have a lot of other channels than digital still, which work very well. TV, print, radio, they're still working. Although over 50% of the money is now in digital, they are still working and they should be taken into account, especially for high-level branding. Coca-Cola kind of advertising activities or campaigns. Whereas in performance, where you go, hey, buy this campaign, you're more and more digital, you're more and more people are really searching for it. And when we split the digital down into more aspects, into more channels, you already see where it's going. So on the upper side of the digital world, you have video, display, and all these activities. If you go down the funnel, you have search and other like sponsorships, referral activities, and very lead gen campaigns, which really these lead forms of LinkedIn or Facebook, which provide you actual leads directly into the funnel. So kind of this is the big spread, and then obviously you have within that the campaign spread. So what we usually try to do together with obviously the customer, and what I also encourage you to do by yourself, is really think, okay, what is actually low, mid, and top? And you might already do that, and this might already be clear for you. But it's important, especially as you start operating your channels across all operating your campaigns across all channels. It's very important to recognize, okay, what is actually low, what is actually top, and when do we move money across top, mid, and low. I give you an example. When you start optimizing low funnel campaigns, you start doing the cross channel, we usually see a drop of the CPL, of the cost per lead, for 30 to 60% in a very short manner, right? And when you really do that cross channels and really take time, really not take time, but really optimize it. So we see a drop in the CPL, and then there is a point where this plateaus. Why? Well, at a certain point, you don't get more food in, right? So what we then do tactically is basically move money from low to mid, or we start changing the weights. What happens then is basically the CPL stays on this level, and then you get more from the mid funnel in, which then allows you again to decrease the CPL. So what this grouping allows you to do is actually manage your cross channel on a different perspective, actually manage the funnel, right? You start managing the funnel with money and start moving the money around like it would be a portfolio. And this really works. So this is about the grouping, step 2. Now, when we go to step 3, what is also really important to really hit these numbers is leverage predictions, right? Simple trend or prediction models are really important. Don't look only at the past. All the performance marketers I meet, they just look at the average CPC in the last week. It's good or it's bad, and I decide. But if there is a bad trend in it, which often happens, these are dynamic markets. So if you have a CPC which goes like that, and then the average is here, oh wow, it's a very good campaign, but last day was like double. And if you just look at the average, you miss this point. So use trends, and I will show you later. You can even do that in Excel. Okay, so there's an Excel function called trend. There's another part called forecast. You check the data in forecast dot, and then it fills out the rest, which gives you an indication how it will be in the future, which is utmost important for dynamic markets that we are. And so that's very important. Also leverage things which are happening around it, right? If you have a big TV commercial popping up, then you can use that. But that's more obvious for the marketeers. Leveraging prediction is more the interesting part. And last but not least, actually do ad operations, right? So that's a part where we see a big lack usually in the market. So ad operations mean that you basically continuously operate your advertising. So the idea is that you really operate your advertising activities and not just tell the agency, hey, take care of it, take 3, 4, 5% of the ad spend and just run it for me and do the best. Well, they will do the best, but just for the channel. I trust them to do a very good job, but they will look at the channel, and they will not really look into the broader segment. Like, hey, how is the other agency doing with social media, right? Could we maybe share data? That's not really their job, and it's not probably in their job profile. So your job as a marketer and owning the budget is really to make sure they talk with each other, take them on a table, and really run the ad operations process. And last but not least, adjust the budget. And why is budget adjustment so important? Well, if we move for the only thing we can change very fast in advertising is really the dollar or the euro, the Swiss franc, or whatever currency you're playing with. But you can move the money very fast and allow other channels to be better or less better. So it's a very, very effective control mechanism for the whole system, for your partners, for your agencies, for your internal staff to really perform better. So let's look at this process and think about again what is the title of this story, right? I told you how you get 77% more, and I told you also in the beginning that we proved that with a study. Now, when we went into the discussion, actually our aim when we tried to prove it was, our hypothesis was that when we use predictive algorithms and these 4 steps, so we group the campaigns, we predict the future, and we change the budgets, we can get 30% better performance every month. That was our hypothesis. And we also did that for customers. We also tested with customers, A/B tests and things like that. We were always able to do that. And by just moving the budget around, right? Think about it. We didn't really change the creative, but just moving the budget across channel to really, give the right credit to the right channel. So with this hypothesis, we went in, and then we took a partner at hand, which was the University of Zurich. And the University of Zurich, obviously well known, I think worldwide, also very good in business illustration aspects as well as machine learning. We took them aside and basically pitched this idea and agreed on to start a study together. And this study is part of a larger study. So the actual paper was not yet published and will probably be published next year. But anyhow, we were able to already publish our results together with the university here. And it was context on a master's thesis. And that's basically what we tested. So when we went to the University of Zurich, and obviously this was then a study itself, and we had three, the experiment was as follows. We had 3 treatments. So we said, okay, one element is really where Nexoya optimizes. With the machine learning models, we optimize budget twice a week, and we do predictions, we do grouping, we do predictions, and then we change the budget. The other thing was a marketing expert. And the marketing expert optimized also twice per week. He usually used 2 to 3 hours per time he optimized, and did exactly the same as the model. He basically looked at data, assumed which data is how good, and then moved the budget. He didn't use predictive algorithms. That's it. Right. And last but not least, we had a budget allocation which was not touched. And this was basically a treatment where we said, okay, these people, brackets open, this is mostly what happens in the market, right? Most people don't move money across channels. So the marketing expert was doing something which already most people don't do. The fact is, most people assign the budgets in the beginning of the year, and then the channel owner runs. And that's basically how we started. And apart from that, we had some dependent variables, which was the KPIs and the cost per click, or better say the cost per session on the landing. So we had a micro conversion goal, and we had also a confounding variable for people who are interested in that, which are control for. We used 5 channels for that. So we used Bing search, Google search, display, and Facebook, Instagram, where we pushed this campaign out. So basically did the test campaign. And the first time when we were also a little bit unsure if this at all will work, if we can actually organize this setup, because it needs to be a massive setup. And our independent variable was geographic location. So we basically made little geos where we tried out different stuff as an independent variable. So we did the first baby test, and we searched a country which has a very, very low CPC and CPM, which turned out to be India. So we did an experiment with, I call it the very cheap experiment, where we did cat advertising, so with cat pictures, which obviously have a higher CPC, have a higher click-through rate. And then we pushed these advertising different geos and tried the model out. Which made us a lot of learnings and how to set up such a test, and also on the university part, how this can actually be done. And then we scaled that up. So this was the first experiment, and then we scaled it up and said, okay, for the second and third experiment, which we need because we want to test different geos, we expanded into the German-speaking regions of Europe. So we did the first test run in India in February, and then in May and June followed experiment 1 and 2. Where we had different treatment groups, AI versus expert and AI versus expert versus no adjustments. The geographic regions were actually selected by their by different aspects of how many people are online, what is their spend, what is their GDP, and things like that. And we had always 1 month of test, so 7 days of pre-treatment where nobody did anything, kind of that the machine learning models and the channel really learn, and then 27 days of really optimizing in the 3 different channels. That's kind of what we did. And to really prove, and I'm super, super happy that this study was successful, and we actually could statistically prove that it works. And the results obviously are now exactly the answer to the question of this webinar. First, we were able to show that the AI-driven optimization with these channels is 90% better than actually the marketing expert doing it twice a week. And second, we were able to show that the fixed budget, or that the automated budget allocation with an algorithm like Nexoya has it, with predictive analytics and grouping of the metrics, is 77% better than if you leave the budget as is on your channels, which, again, brackets open, most marketeers do today. So that's basically where we landed. So we were also astonished by the results, because I didn't expect that we hit 77%, honestly. And it's a great success for the university, because they really have proof on how this can work, and also for us, because we really can show how this works. Now, can you do it by yourself? Can you do it at home? Yes, you can do it at home, and you can do it by yourself. And here a simple guide. First thing is export all your data, right? You can do this at home. You export your data. You can do it even manually, or there are tools who help you to export it. Have the data available at a daily basis, because it's really, really important that you have your data available of all the channels, not just one. Then next step, as mentioned, step 2, group and organize your campaigns. Right? Make sure you have the same in the same bucket, that you optimize, that you don't cross-optimize throughout the funnel. Top, mid, flow is a good start. You can even do more separation if you have more campaigns, and then you can give different weights to different goals. Then third step, leverage trend predictions. Right? In Excel, everybody has Excel. Everybody knows Excel. There is a very easy function called trend or forecast, where you basically can take these 10 days, trend the next 10 days, or forecast the next 30 days. It gives you such a different picture on your campaigns that it's incredibly important to do that. And last but not least, obviously, optimize your campaigns and budgets across channels, right? The study showed how the impact can be. I mean, if you don't do it versus you do it, like the marketing expert did, you already have 50% increase. And if you do it even more sophisticated with AI models, you get to 77%. So, and that's kind of the main thing which I think is important for you to take away. Moving money across the channels really has impact in your bottom line, and it significantly impacts if you do it manually or do it automated. But just do it, because the publishers will never tell you go somewhere else. You need to tell them, right? And yes, to kind of round up the official part before the questions, this is basically what we built. And Nexoya is a platform which gets the data in, predicts the data, and then optimizes it. And then we directly automatically adjust the budget towards the respective portfolio. So basically, in the study, we also try to prove ourselves that it actually works, and it worked very well. And obviously, we also have customers which are we are very proud of, such as Generali, where we were able to get 27% more conversions within a very short amount of time. And that's where we are. And yes, that's kind of the official part. What is important again, these 4 steps: get your data, get your ownership of the ad account, organize your campaigns in respective groupings, leverage predictions, really do it. It's so simple, it's so easy, everybody can do it. You don't need a crazy AI model forecast to already start doing it, right? You can do it today. And last but not least, start optimizing across channels. It's utmost important that you look it from a portfolio perspective and not just within the channel. And yes, with that, I'm already kind of summarizing the presentation. And there's one more point which might be interesting for you. We are right now working, as we have so much advertising data from Switzerland already, and we have enough that is statistic relevant. We're actually right now working at an advertising trend report, where you will basically be able to get all the channels, trends, prices, and weekly patterns of the Swiss market. We'll also do that for Germany probably next year, but right now we don't have the statistical level yet for doing it for Germany, so we're working on that. But for Switzerland, we have the amount of data already, and we will probably publish it 2022. And if you are interested, please register there for early access. Then we'll make sure that you are one of the first ones who will get it. We'll probably make a first early access round, and then make it public at a later stage to get some good feedback from you guys. So if you're interested, please point your email address there, and then we will send you the report as soon as it's available. And with that, I would directly jump into the questions. So we now activate the question mode. So you can basically put in your questions in the question box on the bottom right, and then I can take them up, or Lauren can help me if there are many, and then we can take them up and answer them, obviously. And so thank you very much already for listening. And I hope I could share you some insights on how you can actually get 77% more and what to do, what is actually possible, what's not. And I hope you liked it. And I hope you can obviously also apply it to your campaigns, because I think you should. There's a lot in it.
All right. Thank you, Marco, so much for this great presentation. So many insights and great takeaways. So yes, if you want to ask any questions, the Q&A mode has been enabled at the bottom right of your screen. I see someone is typing, but in the meanwhile, I have maybe one question, Marco. So for the experiment, I was wondering what was the ad spend or what was needed to actually reach such great results. Like 77% is amazing. So what do we need to put in to get these?
Yes. I mean, the whole budget of the whole campaign, which you were in the study, you mean, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So the whole study campaign had a budget of 20K in total, but it was kind of distributed over the 8 months. So each kind of test had roughly 5 to 10K. Depends a bit on the setup it was, but it was significant, which also obviously is important if you want to have data and if you want to have enough data to really test it. You need to have some budget, right? If you have 2,000K on your ad spend, you will not be able to get enough movement, or you don't get to get 30% or 77% out of it. So you need to have some budget that it works. But also, if you only have $100 on ad spend, you will probably not have multiple channels. So you start slow and grow. But that's kind of roughly the budget there was on the table.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for your answer. I see that someone is typing. So in the meanwhile, I will scan the QR code and get the early access for the trend report. Amazing. Okay, so we have Francisco, who says that congratulations for the presentation. I understand that you're working sector and geographically, as well as the company level, like generally. What was the most successful, the AI or the learning models?
So thanks, Francisco, for the question. Not completely sure what you mean with the learning models. So obviously you mean probably the steps for until we go through. So in the case of Generali, as you name this, they already had this grouping in place. So they basically knew what kind of are the lower, what are the mid, what are the top funnel campaigns. So we basically optimized that. So the 72% we basically got only thanks to the prediction and then moving of the money. And what is also important, Generali has different agencies per channel. So we basically started, mixing and orchestrating that. And this really led to this big push and to this big kind of success. Does it make sense, Francisco? Does this answer your question? Okay, perfect.
Right.
There's another one from LinkedIn. How much channels do I need to start doing it? Yes. So I mean, I mentioned 5 now in the presentation, but basically, what we say is starting 3 channels. It makes sense. Why does it make sense starting 3 channels? Well, then the dynamic plays, right? So when you have only one channel and you optimize within this channel, it can help you. But Google also does a good job in optimizing your campaigns, and so they have some tools and features which has data which we don't even know. So they do a good job. So it all actually starts really kicking in when you have 3 channels. We also already help customers optimizing just one channel. It works, and it can help you to get better percentage. But it's not the 77 or more you get. There are more than 20%. So what we usually say, if you really want to have the impact, then it's really starting with 3 channels and 10K upwards per month. Then you really can get a big leverage over that. I hope this answers the question to the person who was on LinkedIn. Cool.
Do we have any more questions? It's right now if you want to ask the last questions. Someone is typing.
I think what is important also to understand, if you start doing that yourself, right, you will also start moving budgets around, and naturally, depending on who is organizing these budgets or has these budgets under control, you need to communicate with them, right? You need to talk with these people. Especially also check your agency contracts, right? Sometimes you have fixed contracts where you tell them this is the spend I will do. Then you cannot just move stuff around easily, right? So it's kind of also in a process to go where you are, right? I hope this makes sense. There is another question coming in. When I want Nexoya, how long is the onboarding? Yes, so basically the point is that we need to read the data, obviously, if we do it. I mean, the same if you do it by yourself, right? The onboarding itself is fairly quick. It's usually 45 minutes, 1 hour onboarding. We get all the data in, we check the campaigns, and then we start optimizing, basically. So it's straightforward. As we only read through the APIs, to the connectors of the publishers, it's very straightforward, and it can be done very easily. So we already had customers very well up and running. After 3 days, we were already optimizing. If the campaign is set up, but if we see, for instance, in the setup that, hey, there are trackings missing, things like that, then we basically can show you that, and we show you the health check of the campaigns, and then you see, these are things which I might want to look in before doing it, and then we basically help you to step by step optimize your campaigns on a structure, and at the same time doing budget optimization. So the onboarding itself is fairly quick. It's like 1 hour-ish, and then you're basically up and running. And then after 1-2 days, we can already start optimizing. So it's quite straightforward. And there's another question from Francisco. I'm missing data, but I will send a quick presentation for your information. Sounds good. You miss your data, or you miss our data, or you miss part of the presentation? Then obviously, yes, the presentation will be available as a recording. Now, if you connect and you don't have data backwards, so for instance, if you don't have your data exported, that's usually not a problem, as when we connect the systems, we can read data backwards. As I said, 6 to 12 months is usually possible. More than a year then depends on the provider. So if you have DV360, you can read more. If you have another provider, you cannot. For instance, Google Analytics, depending on the size of your account, starts to aggregate the data fairly early. So then you also have a problem to get out the goals per day and things like that. So it starts getting foggy. But usually for starting, you don't need to have your data ready, right? Okay, yes. Okay, sounds good. Thanks for clarifying.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Seems like nobody's typing. All right, then. Marco, thank you so much. It was a great presentation. Do you have anything to add for the end? Any last words?
No, I would like to thank everybody for joining this webinar. I especially in these turbulent times, and wish you all the best, good health, and don't forget to optimize your campaigns cross-channel. There's a lot in it. I think that's the biggest takeaway of today. There is something in it, and we definitely, it's very important to do that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for attending.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye. Have a good day.